Is Broad Arrow going to unseat RM auctions? If I use the name Broad Arrow, you may not know who I'm talking about, but if I talk about Hedary's collector car auction company, which is doing business as Broad Arrow, maybe you might know what I'm talking about. So I think I did a video where I touched on this last year, and I discussed how Broad Arrow broke away from RM and started their own company. It was essentially a rebel startup where you had high intelligence from one company abandoning ship to go to another company and creating a better company. And I think Hedary saw that and decided that they were going to jump on the bandwagon. And when they jumped on the bandwagon, they did it. They really jumped. They jumped from like 1,000 feet. So when they bought a share in Broad Arrow, they pushed RM Auctions out of the Ritz-Carlton at Amelia Island because Amelia Island is now owned by Hedary. So Hedary's not going to want an outside auction company there. They're going to want their own company there because they're going to have to recoup a piece of the pie. And not only that, I mean, now that you see Hedary taking on other events, you're going to see the Broad Arrow name extended to other places. But let's just see how Broad Arrow has done as an auction house and then what RM did to counter the problem. So I have friends that work for both companies. So in this video, I'm not trying to disparage either company, but the auction business is a cutthroat, every man for himself, take no prisoners business. And the higher the stakes, the more expensive and highbrow the auction, the more blood is going to be released for the sharks to feed on. And this is especially evident at events like Amelia Island, where every car has to meet the bottom number of its estimate and preferably exceed it. There has to be a sell-through rate of roughly 80% to make the auction worth it. And there has to be a strong presence of cars that are worth over $100,000. You can't have a bunch of $20,000 cars. I mean, you could have some, get them in the door cars for, 20, 30 grand. But the real money, and there needs to be a lot of it, needs to be buying cars that are 250 or more. So Broad Arrow did not bring a bunch of Bring a Trailer cars to this auction. If I looked at the display and analyzed what was there between Gooding, now Gooding sets up their own tent at the Omni, and Broad Arrow, these guys are neck and neck with the number of high dollar cars. But I will say that there were three things I like more about Broad Arrow that I prefer over, let's say, Gooding. First of all, the car specialists at Broad Arrow tend to be a little bit younger and more in touch with the market. They don't seem to be as sales oriented. They seem to be more interested in providing a pretty clear picture of what each car is and what it's actually worth. Number two, Gooding is still kind of the place you go when you're looking to spend a whole lot of money on a classic car. So people do a lot of investment money parking through Gooding. You park the money in an investment car, you wait 5 years. If the market is improved, you sell one of your investment cars. Then to offset capital gains, you buy another one. This is a pretty interesting game that a lot of collectors play because instead of having to pay out the profits and taxes, you buy into another asset. Sure, you pay some taxes on it, but they're not the same scale of tax you'd pay on capital gains with a collector car, especially if it's appreciated by, $100,000 or so. You don't want to just give that money, to the government so they can spend it on stuff that you probably don't care about, whereas if you're parking it in another investment vehicle and that investment goes south and you lose 50 grand, you still didn't pay 100 grand in taxes. You might buy another car and make the money back on it. It's a gamble. And some people prefer gambling over paying taxes. I personally don't, but whatever. But Broad Arrow does sell more enthusiast-oriented cars. They had a whole collection of young-timer Mercedes for sale, including cars like a 300 CE AMG, a 300 SEL 6.3, which is sort of on the cusp. They had a really nice 560 SL that was red, meaning it probably kept the price down a little bit. Whereas if you looked at what Gooding was offering, they had a 300D and a 300 SD that met their bottom estimates, but they were really great low mileage cars, but they also were probably not a big money maker for Gooding. Now, the RM side of things, what did RM do now that they're not in Amelia Island? Well, they did what any smart company would do. They set up their own event and built up their own car show, concours, publicity event around an auction in Miami called, I think it was like Moto Exotica or something like that. Moto Exotica was an auction company. I think it's like Moto Miami. That's it, Moto Miami. I probably would think about going to Moto Miami if it wasn't in Miami. And that's wherein lies the problem for somebody like me. But RM isn't off the mark at all, because first off, if you're in Miami, not only is it a pain to get into Miami, which I'm going to try to do tonight, it's a real pain to get out of Miami. And if I were a car collector and I wanted to go to a high-end event that rivaled Amelia Island, I mean, it's going to take a little bit, but it'll get there. First of all, people in Miami don't care about whether something is a for-profit enterprise. They just go if they're going to have fun. They just want to go to something. They want to go to something where they're big, fast cars. RM can focus on things that they are good at doing, like selling hypercars, selling very expensive pre-war collectible cars. Every segment of the collector car market is flush with cash and willing to spend all of that cash, whether it's in Miami or Jacksonville. But the only way to get out of Miami is to fly out. Driving to and from is just a lot of work. So I personally think that RM did the right thing, and they're probably going to, after their event matures a little bit, make more money than they did at the Amelia Island sale. So everybody wins, right? Anyway, if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell for notifications. And, if you buy a car at auction, make sure you're there to check it out first. I'll see you in the future.